Let's move on to potholes. And by the way, do send in pictures of your favourite potholes. You know what I mean. Send us your pothole pictures. Yes, pictures on the radio. If you're taking photos of one that's particularly troubling you, or maybe it's one that's done damage to your tyre or car, do send it in. Text it 85058, WhatsApp 885 909 693. A colleague of ours on 5 Live is making a programme for radio and television, and be interested to see some of your photos. So do get in touch. So, potholes. Peak pothole time of year, it freezes, then it unfreezes, and it's so wet that absolutely knackers the road, and it just seems to be getting worse all the time. Here to answer all our questions on this is consumer and motoring disputes expert Scott Dixon. Scott, am I just getting older, or are there more potholes than ever?
You're not just getting older, Adrian, and yes, to answer your question, there are more potholes on the road. And obviously we're in the middle of winter, and councils often point to winter weather, but icy weather isn't unusual in the UK. It happens every year, and this excuse is trotted out every year. So road maintenance systems should be designed with that in mind. And while that point with icy conditions causing more potholes is valid, with the freeze and thaw cycle, that can only cause damage if there are gaps, holes and cracks in the road for water to lie in and freeze and thaw. And if the roads were maintained in good condition and potholes and repairs were done properly to the correct specification and criteria, it wouldn't be an issue.
Well, I would suggest this is down to funding. I mean, earlier we heard a clip of the Prime Minister saying, well, we give the money to councils to do this. If the council aren't doing it, then take it up with them. I'd assume they'd argue we just haven't got the money to do it properly. I mean, and what's going to change that?
Well, I mean, road funding has been an issue for many years, but a huge part of the problem is not only the potholes not being repaired properly to the correct specification and criteria. I think we've all seen how some of the potholes are repaired, but utility firms digging up the roads and not reinstating them properly is a big problem as well. So you've got trenches on the roads, and they're not often sealed properly at the edges, so water gets in, freezes, expands, breaks the roads up, creates more potholes, and the councils are not consistently checking or enforcing these repairs to recharge the work back to the contractors, so taxpayers end up paying for that as well.
Okay, so what might change things regarding local roads, which councils are responsible for, and then motorways and trunk roads, which I think various agencies are responsible for around the country? What might focus minds if they had to pay compensation for when your tyre is damaged? And
well, yeah.
But I mean, but it's not straightforward to do, is it? You know, there is not a mechanism to do this. What are the rules on that?
Well, the default position for every highway authority and claims handlers will take is that they can only be held liable for potholes that have been reported, and they cannot be held responsible for every pothole on the roads. And whilst that stance may hold water on the face of it, in reality, local authorities do have a statutory duty of care to maintain the roads and inspect them regularly. And the problem that motorists have is claims handlers, they are in effect loss adjusters, and they work in cahoots with local authorities to reject the majority of all pothole claims. That's their sole purpose. They're not independent third parties, and they do work from scripts and default answers to reject claims and hope that you give up on the first attempt. And it's become increasingly difficult to claim for pothole damage due to councils moving to what's called a revised risk-based approach on inspections. So
what does that mean?
Councils used to have policies which specifically said that if a pothole was X millimetres deep, it would be fixed. And that made it a black and white decision. But now councils have moved to a watered-down approach, and staff have to consider a variety of factors without any specific mention of depth. So that means one inspector may choose to instruct a repair when another would not. And what constitutes a pothole varies depends on who's looking at it.
Okay, but I mean, it sounds like something needs to be legally tested in court, and my worry would be nothing's going to change on this until there's a serious accident involving significant loss of life due to a pothole. I don't know why it hasn't happened. It's treacherous out there, and then that might focus some minds.
Yeah, I mean, potholes are not just a nuisance, they are a danger to life. And there have been reports in the media with cyclists suffering life-changing injuries and deaths due to these potholes. And bringing a claim to court is difficult, but it's not impossible. And motorists, there's no need for anybody to fork out from their own pocket or claim on their insurance if the council is liable. But proving liability is increasingly difficult.
So what's your advice then? I assume there'll be some solicitors' firms offering to fight it for you. Whether that's a good idea or not, I don't know.
Well, the first thing you need to do is report it. So if you hit a pothole and you believe it's damaged your vehicle, you need to report it as soon as possible. And you can do this via fixmystreet.com or fillthathole.org.uk, or simply contact the local authority direct. And take photos if it's possible to do so to evidence your claim. And if it's safe to do so, maybe put a bottle of water or a can of Coke in the pothole to measure the depth. And crucially, it's not the width of the pothole, it's the depth that matters. And provide a sketch with your claim to pinpoint the pothole. And you will be asked to help the local authority find the pothole because there's that many on the roads. And a simple sketch will suffice. Get an estimate for the cost of repairs or provide a copy receipt and submit a Freedom of Information request and ask for the inspection records for the past 12 months, temporary and permanent repair specification and criteria, and copies of the work orders to identify how the pothole was repaired, and all reports related to any road defects within the past 12 months, including action taken on each report.
I mean, this is a lot of this is. I think it's a lot of work. As somebody put it, we all have an obligation to keep our vehicles roadworthy, and we get into trouble if we haven't got an MOT certificate. But you don't seem to get into trouble if you're responsible for keeping the road vehicle worthy and you're found wanting.
That's a good point, Adrian, and it's very difficult for motorists to claim because the councils rely on claims handlers just rejecting all claims, but it's not impossible. And whilst the procedure appears to be convoluted and difficult, it's deliberately made for that reason, is just to stop motorists claiming from the councils.
Thanks very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it. Scott
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.